Ready, set, adventure! Welcome to Hikanuki World Tour and Day 3 on the NCL Spirit in our day in Hong Kong. We'll brave the rain as we take a city highlights tour. We'll visit Victoria Peak, Aberdeen Harbour, and Repulse Beach. Then return to the ship for a bite to eat and experience a stunning sailaway as the weather begins to clear. Today we're waking up in Hong Kong, the first port of call on our cruise aboard the NCL Spirit. We started the day at the Garden Cafe.
Morning.
How are you?
Very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
All
right.
Have a nice day.
Good morning, welcome to Garden Cafe. Washi washi, happy happy, Norwegian spirits #1.
Yeah.
Have a lovely day, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy happy, washi washi, smiley smiley, shaky shaky, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
It was quite busy this morning as people were up and about ready to go see Hong Kong. We were taking a ship shore excursion to see the highlights of Hong Kong. But first it's omelet time.
Would you like more? Yes, sir.
You're taking a video.
Yes, so that tomorrow I'll be on YouTube.
Made to order eggs and omelets were always available at the buffet. We made a typical American breakfast plate. We thought the buffet was good, but did get a little repetitive. But every day is a good day for a breakfast omelet, and this one was super cheesy. We went upstairs to the pool deck and were very brokenhearted to see how foggy, rainy, and cold it was today in Hong Kong. But you never know, the weather could clear, and we certainly weren't going to sit around the ship all day. There wasn't much activity, so we headed back inside. As with any vacation, be prepared. We had brought umbrellas, ponchos, and plenty of layers, and we would be bringing them all with us today. In the atrium, they were showing slides about what to do in Hong Kong. Our first tour stop was at Victoria Peak. Tour groups were gathering in the theater. Our group was meeting at 8:30.
For the tickets, so this is the only way that we can know that you guys are traveling together. Let us know, please.
This was our first excursion on this ship, and we noticed immediately that it seemed a bit disorganized. And the process seemed to get worse on our upcoming excursions. Because our passports had been collected, we had to bring the color copy with us. This was a 5.5-hour excursion, so it was to take up most of our time in port. With a shore excursion, you're guaranteed that the ship will wait for you even if you're late. We're exiting through the Kai Tak cruise terminal. Kai Tak used to be the international airport for Hong Kong, but as Hong Kong grew and more skyscrapers appeared, and the airport was surrounded on 3 sides with water, it made for a very difficult landing approach, and the airport was closed and moved to another location. The terminal remained and was converted to a cruise terminal. And now we're heading out to the awaiting bus. As you can see, there were taxis available in case you don't have a shore excursion booked. Hong Kong has a very good rapid transit system. In retrospect, we do wish that we would have done this port on our own and seen more of what we wanted to see. A shore excursion can be a good way to see a port, especially if it's one you're unfamiliar with, but you really don't have any flexibility. We were heading to Victoria Peak, which was definitely a highlight we were looking forward to. But with the weather today, we were a little concerned about how much we would actually be able to see. When booking an excursion, you have a 48-hour cancellation deadline. Of course, you can never predict the weather, so we went on the tour regardless.
Welcome to Hong Kong, and also happy Valentine's in advance.
We're heading to Victoria Peak on the bus, and our weather concerns continued. Because of the inadequate PA system, it was a bit hard to hear and understand our guide Alan. but he did offer interesting insight about the areas around us. And that is one positive about a shore excursion. You'll probably have a guide who's knowledgeable about the area. Looks like these kids are prepared for the rain. We arrived at the tram station and our guide had the tickets for us. They were included in our excursion price. The excursion price was $79 per person and we had a $50 credit. So the total cost for the two of us was $108. Our group gathered and headed up to the tram. This group was pretty good about keeping together and respecting the time. But there's always people who want to get in front of you. We arrived and boarded the tram. It reminded me of a San Francisco cable car. The trip to the top took about 8 minutes. Our guide informed us that the Victoria Peak area is one of the most exclusive and wealthiest residential areas in Hong Kong. Here you'll find housing for the city's elite. The Peak tram opened in 1888, and it's one of the oldest funicular railways in the world. The Peak tram was featured in the 1950s Clark Gable movie Soldier of Fortune, and it was also included on an episode of The Love Boat. This is now the 6th generation of Peak trams. The trams are painted green as a nod to their heritage. They now carry 210 passengers. Previously, they could carry only 120. Now we're getting close to the top and are anxious to see our view. This is a very popular tourist destination, so it can get very crowded. On our visit, we were the only cruise ship in port. So other than our fellow cruise passengers in tour groups, it was not very crowded. We're here a little before 10 in the morning on a cloudy, foggy day, so I'm sure that's keeping the crowds down as well. And as you might know, all good rides end in the gift shop. We followed along with Group 8 through this very busy gift shop. And busy as in a lot of stuff to see. This is the Peak Market, and there's also the Peak Tower, which is a shopping mall opening at 10 o'clock. We're hurrying up behind Alan to try to get outside before it gets too crowded. And here's the sleek modern mall. Although it technically opened at 10, most of the stores didn't open until 11. But we weren't here to shop. Considering the weather, it was still quite crowded here, and I can't imagine how busy it would be on a nice day. Our group continued up the escalators to go outside. The anticipation was building as it was almost time to see that beautiful skyline. Our tour guide gave us 30 minutes to explore the area and then meet back in the lobby. And our group was pretty responsible about keeping to the time frames. At an elevation of 1,811 feet, this is the tallest hill in Hong Kong Island. Victoria Peak Gardens offer pagodas, winding pathways, and benches. It's a beautiful place to catch the views and take lots of photos. Our group followed Alan to the Lions Pavilion lookout. There was a sign pointing out the highlights. And now... Okay, that was just a photo. Here was our view. We literally could not see one single building through the fog. This picture was as good as it got. We just have to use our imagination and make a point to come back someday in the future. It was very disappointing, but there's just no control of the weather. Hopefully the rest of the tour will be worthwhile. We did get a feel for how nice this would be on a nice, clear, sunny day. Unlike today. On the first floor, we were greeted by a familiar, smiling face. Actually, it's been about 10 years since McDonald's retired Ronald in the U.S. We went inside the mall to escape the pouring rain. There were some nice-looking, higher-end stores, but unfortunately, we were too early and nothing was open yet. Of course, you can always count on McDonald's. We like to stop in and try the local double cheeseburger, but it was still breakfast, so we kept walking. If you've ever been to Honolulu, you're probably familiar with the ABC stores. In Asia, The 7-Eleven is the local equivalent of the ABC store in Hawaii. They're on every corner, and sometimes there's 2 per block. They're convenient and offer just about everything. Since this was about the only thing that was open, our group spent a great deal of time on our trip to the peak in the 7-Eleven store. On this tour there was no stop for food, so you better grab something now. We had been looking forward to getting an egg tart at the bakery in the mall, but it was closed. The group's disappointment and frustration was palpable, and everybody was anxious to get moving. In the lobby there was this beautiful orchid, so we enjoyed looking at that, our favorite sight at the peak. This was also interesting, and we might have missed it if it hadn't been raining. An umbrella dryer to keep from making slippery puddles on the floor. Outside, the little kids were enjoying high-fiving Ronald McDonald. They didn't seem to mind the raindrops. Their teachers were getting them lined up for a photo. They definitely helped brighten up our day. And then it was time for our march back to the bus. Part of me thinks that they should have canceled this part of the tour and substituted something else. For our next stop, we were told we were going to visit a gem factory outlet. Hong Kong is known for great shopping, so we were anxious to see what this was going to be like. But the disappointment continued, as did the rain. We stopped at this rather nondescript looking building, took the escalators upstairs to wait for an elevator. We hadn't been given very much information, so we really didn't know what to expect. This was the most exciting sight, a Lunar New Year display. The building was crowded, but only with other NCL tour groups. It really wasn't clear what we were doing. We took the elevator to the 23rd floor, to this beautifully decorated hallway. We made our way to the room that was called the Jade Outlet. Jade is revered throughout China. It's a symbol of purity, harmony, and protection. And this was the breathtaking showroom. The room was busy and overcrowded with tour groups, most of whom were interested in the free beverages. As an aside, I resent tours that take you places where you feel compelled to buy. We paid money for a tour, not for a sales pitch. And now back on the bus. Just a reminder to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to Hikanuki World Tour. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks, we really do appreciate you. This turned out to be the highlight of the tour, although we still didn't really know what to expect. We headed to Aberdeen for a Sampan boat tour. Here we saw the instantly recognizable sign for the Jumbo Floating Restaurant. This area has been seen in movies like James Bond and Man with the Golden Gun, The Contagion, and various Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movies. We headed down to board the Sampan boat. We were told we were going to visit a fishing village, which to me meant the boat would stop, we would get out, walk around in a village, and then get back on. But nope, that's not what we did. We just circled around the harbor. It was very interesting, but we were on our own and had no guided narration or information about what we were seeing. Alan did not come with us. This area is not to be confused with Tai O, which is another fishing village and referred to as the Venice of the East. This was a very unique experience, and I'm glad it was included as part of the tour. The seating area was covered, so I don't even have to complain about the weather. On the floor of the boat near the driver, you can see a stack of the woven tanka hats. Traditionally, these were worn by Hong Kong's boat dwellers. There's a lot of history connected to this area, but unfortunately, no guide or introduction was provided to us. It would have been nice to have heard about this area on the bus or been given a guidebook of some sort to follow. We had a very skilled driver, but I'm pretty sure she didn't speak any English. I did see that similar tours were conducted by third-party vendors such as Viator. On their tours, they do provide an audio guide, which would have been nice for us to have. Coming up on our left is the Tai Pak restaurant. Tai Pak closed about 10 years ago and is currently undergoing renovations. I don't believe it has reopened yet. The famous and recognizable Jumbo restaurant didn't survive the pandemic and was tragically shipwrecked on its way to Malaysia. While this was a fun thing to do, I just felt like we were missing out on a lot of the history. For now, sit back and enjoy the Sampan ride around Aberdeen Harbour with us. It was interesting to see these traditional boats alongside luxury yachts. If you look at the high-rise buildings in front of us, you'll see what look like holes. These are intentional and are gates so that the dragons that live in the mountains can fly to the water without impediment. Much of the architecture in Hong Kong relies on feng shui. Proper positioning and flow paths are critical components of urban feng shui, and you wouldn't want to get in the way of a dragon. As we pass through this area, we can tell that people are living on some of these boats. With the price of real estate in Hong Kong, it's no wonder. And as we rode along, I kept wondering to myself, when are we going to stop at the fishing village? Communication on this tour was definitely lacking. And now we've made our way back to the landing piers. The total ride was about 15 minutes long. Tour guide Alan was waiting to welcome us back on the pier. The jumbo sign remains, although the iconic restaurant is under the sea somewhere. Our skilled boat driver landed the boat at the pier. Our group exited the boat and went back to the bus for our next stop. And our next stop was to the beach. Repulse Beach, to be exact.
Still have fun, boss.
And who wouldn't want to visit the beach on a day like today? The beach is named after a British warship, the HMS Repulse. Not the most inviting name for a beach. We were given 30 minutes to explore the beach and the nearby mall. This is one of the more popular public beaches in Hong Kong. It's also one of the longest at more than 900 feet. In the garden area, you'll find larger-than-life statues of Chinese deities Kuan Yin and Tin Hao. Even though it wasn't much of a beach day, this area was interesting to visit. Alan gathered the group and gave us a little bit of information about the various statues.
Then you bring all the luck and a wealthy back home. Yes, but don't touch the middle. He's a gentleman. You want more baby? One touch, one baby. Okay?
In front of the temple, you can't miss the two statues of Kuan Yin and Tin Hao. Tin Hao is the goddess of the sea and promised calmer seas and plentiful catch for the fishermen, while Kuan Yin is the goddess of mercy. The goddesses stand watch close to the sea and help bring visitors peace of mind. This is a Taoist temple with many animal statues. It practically extends into the ocean. The red bridge is the bridge of longevity. Every time you cross it, you add 3 days to your life. Cross the bridge and you'll find many colorful statues. The 3 celestial rams are meant to bring prosperity. Everything here was very colorful and frankly a little unexpected. We found a woman who was trying to land a coin in the fish of prosperity's mouth. This is a gesture of good luck, and I hope she made it. This beautiful building is the Pavilion of Longevity. This octagonal-shaped pavilion was opened in 1984. 3 pairs of traditional guardian lions stand out front, as well as a large red dragon. Here's another look at the Bridge of Longevity and the surrounding statues. Looks like she's still trying to get that coin in the fish's mouth. One complaint I've seen is that this area tends to be overrun with tourist groups. On a day like today, I think only the tourist groups were here. There was also a Buddha statue here, as well as incense burners. Burning incense is a sign of reverence and purification and can carry prayers to Buddha and other deities. Burning incense is also a method for purifying your surroundings and creates an appropriate environment to summon sacred beings. We took one last look around, then headed upstairs to see the adjacent Pulse Mall. While I appreciated this stop, our last stop, I didn't really feel like I'd seen much of Hong Kong. The beach was expansive and I'm sure it's beautiful, but probably crowded on a nice day. The Pulse Mall didn't really have that much to see, but we did stop at the dog grooming salon and see this little guy getting his hair cut. This tour didn't have a specific stop for lunch, and we always felt like we didn't have enough time to eat lunch. I think the poor little guy wanted us to rescue him. And with that, it was time to head back to the NCL Spirit. We returned at about 2:15, and since all aboard time was 3:30, we really didn't have time to do anything else. I thought the weather really put a damper on our trip to Hong Kong, but I also felt like the tour didn't do a good job of showing real highlights. I wouldn't recommend this ship excursion, although on a nicer day things would have gone a little more smoothly. But we really never saw the true business district or shopping districts of Hong Kong, or any of the markets, and we didn't have any time to sample food. Of course, we did make it back to the ship on time, so that's something. And we received a warm welcome from the crew. Back on the big screen in the atrium, we could see where we were. Tomorrow's another sea day as we make our way to Vietnam. I can't help but think we missed out on the vibrant, densely populated urban center. So I guess we'll have to return in the future. Meanwhile, we have a lot more cruise to enjoy. We headed to the local for a late lunch, early dinner. We started with the nachos and the wings. Both were probably about average, but definitely satisfied a craving. We had the wings with sweet chili sauce, which were fine. I just prefer mine to be a little crispier. With its 24-hour schedule, the local's always a great place to grab a bite. They have fish and chips as well as a fish sandwich, and the fish sandwich was really good. The corned beef sandwich was also a solid choice. The beef was lean and tasty, and I really liked the dressing as well as the cheese and the bread. I definitely recommend this, and also the fries were crispy and hot. We headed up to the pool deck for our 4 o'clock sailaway. Ironically, this was our best look at Hong Kong for the whole day. This is Spice H2O, and there are plenty of places to get a good view of Sailaway. On this ship, I thought the Sailaway always drew a nice crowd. I know it's one of my favorite things to see. There are 2 hot tubs on the back of Spice H2O, and what a great place to watch the Sailaway. Here comes the tugboat, so you know Sailaway is soon to come. And more people are coming to watch. And off we go. Say goodbye to Tai Po Cruise Terminal, one of the nicest I've ever experienced. And goodbye to Hong Kong. During the Sailaway, we could really get a good idea of the density of the population. There are about 7.5 million people who call Hong Kong home. It started out as a humble fishing and farming village and now has more billionaires per square kilometer than New York, Dubai, or Shanghai. As if to mock us, Victoria Peak could be seen over the clouds. As a cruise port, it's nice to get a glimpse of Hong Kong, but I think you really need a couple days to really do it justice. If you choose a cruise that either starts or ends in Hong Kong, make sure to extend your visit for a couple days. And here's the other hot tub with a great view of the Sailaway. It's always fun to look aft and see the wake of the ship. Hong Kong is one of the richest cities in the world and one of the best business cities in the world. It's comprised of 263 islands, 100 of which are uninhabited. If you look closely at the tall buildings, you can see many dragon gates. It's just really astounding how many high-rises there are. In fact, there are over 550 skyscrapers taller than 150 meters, and an astounding 9,000 high-rise buildings. And having now been there, I can see that that's probably true. Although it finally stopped raining, the fog was still to be seen everywhere. This made for some very eerie scenery. We kept a lookout for dragons. So we'll say farewell to Hong Kong. We'll be at sea tomorrow before we reach Vietnam. Inside, we headed to the Spinnaker Lounge, where the house band B12 was performing. Back at the pool deck, the sun had set and the lights were on. This was a very pretty space, and hopefully the sun will come out tomorrow. We weren't too hungry after having eaten at the local, but we stopped by the buffet just to see. They were having fresh carved turkey tonight. Made-to-order crepes were also available.
Hello, sir.
I regret not getting one. There were some good-looking hot vegetables to choose from, as well as barbecued chicken and mac and cheese. The buffet does offer a good variety of items. We did eat late at the local, so we didn't get very much tonight, but not because we didn't see anything that we liked. You can find pizza at the buffet, but there isn't a dedicated pizza place. For my dinner snack, I just chose a soup and salad. It just looked fresh and light to me. My husband couldn't pass up the turkey and gravy and chose a couple other things to go along with it. And then we headed to Magnum's for a pre-show drink.
Okay, go on break now.
No more break.
Okay.
I will get my 2 minutes break.
Okay, sounds good.
There was always live music at Magnum's in the evenings. Tonight was George on the piano. There tended to be seats available, and there was almost always a spot at the bar. As mentioned, we found all the bartenders to be friendly, helpful, and great at making drinks. As hard as they worked, they always had a smile on their faces and were courteous and kind. Magnum's official name was Magnum's Champagne and Wine Bar, but they had a full bar and could make just about anything you asked for. This was a great place to grab a drink or sit and relax for the evening. All the bartenders were very skilled. Magnum's cocktails always got 5 shakas from us.
Thank you.
Imagine all the people living for today. Ooh, you may say I don't know. And did it my
Tonight was our first production show, the Broadway Cabaret. On this cruise, there were to be 3 production shows, including the popular Blazing Boots. We thought the cast was outstanding.
Aren't they amazing? Yes, and you know they mentioned it. They're going to come back 2 more times during the cruise.
It's a shame we can't show you some highlights from the shows because the cast really was amazing. Back at Magnum's, George was still going strong. The bar was still pretty busy listening to George, and I had another 5 shaka drink. This was probably night after night the least attended karaoke I've ever seen on a cruise ship. Part of the problem was that the singers had to have their backs to the audience in order to read the words. It made it very awkward and not that enjoyable. Upstairs in the Spinnaker, it was time for the 50s and 60s sock hop. The theme parties ended at 11 every night. Passengers were encouraged to go downstairs to the social to continue dancing. Apparently the spinnaker was above the officers' quarters and they needed their sleep. We decided to make a stop at the local for dessert. We tried the brownie raspberry swirl cheesecake and it was quite good. We also tried the hot apple pie with vanilla ice cream, which was also good. Finally, we stopped in at the casino to see if we had any prosperity. Not so much, so we headed for bed. Thanks for joining us at Hikanuki World Tour and our day in Hong Kong. Our travel wisdom for today comes from Nuri Batachi. You can leave Hong Kong, but it will never leave you. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram and hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted when new videos are dropped.